Welcome to episode 1 of the amazing SAFS podcast. The name is in the works. Today we will be discussing the complicated truth of traditional and progressive education without the special guest. They unfortunately could not make it. I apologize. In recent times, traditional education and progressive education have been bumping heads like nothing else. Throughout many seminars and lectures I've participated in, I have been able to discover the true meaning of what traditional and progressive education means. To start, we will discuss traditional education. Traditional education is defined by Dewey in my Week 1 lecture. He describes it as preparing the young for future responsibilities and for success in life, essentially stating that society is preparing us in school by drilling us full of information that we do not entirely understand whilst we are learning it. Like, have you ever had a test and then forgotten everything on that test a week later? Because I sure have. Personally, whenever I did a biology test, for example, I would do the test, and then a week later, if you asked me what was on that test, I could not tell you. There would be nothing left, which was not good for exams. Anyhow, that is because we are being pumped full of new information that is almost irrelevant to the last. Traditional education can also be viewed through the idea that it deposits information into students. Freire's ideas on traditional education explore ideas such as how traditional education turns students into containers. Freire also explains how ideas such as the banking concept diminishes critical consciousness because as students work at sorting the deposits entrusted to them, they are less likely to develop critical thinking skills. Traditional education is also discussed in Helen Proctor and Aretha Shripacash on school systems and choice, in which they discuss how Catholic schools are managed by state and territory Catholic education commissions and regional Catholic education offices. This demonstrates how traditional education could be most commonly seen in Catholic schools. I mean, think about it. Most Catholic children are sheltered, if you will, for some aspects of schooling, especially when they're very young. They can be best described as being the perfect deposits for the banking system, as spoken about earlier with Freire. Traditional classrooms can be viewed as a place in which pupils didn't have experiences, meaning many have lost the imperatus to learn, as everything is repetitive. Have you ever experienced anything in class where you've just been bored stiff because everything is the same? Because let me tell you, I sure have. Going back to biology, it was peak traditional education for me. My teacher simply read out a PowerPoint word for word and then proceeded to hand us 4 worksheets to complete in the class. She didn't even try to connect with us, never asked us questions, or if we needed help, it never created experiences. Now to move on to progressive education. In my second week lecture, progressive education is discussed. It is referred that it promotes individual freedom. Progressive education is truly the freedom for students as it allows them to discover themselves and how they learn best. Personally, I have my own progressive learning experiences, and I think the best example of that is my semester 1 history teacher in year 12. She was extremely active in class. She always asked us if we needed help, and she made us discuss what we talked about from the readings before the lesson. We also did a painting activity, which was incredibly fun. I highly recommend. You know, progressive education is best demonstrated in E.R. Shaw's chapter about education in politics, as it really deep dives into how important it is for school to question itself, really, as it can lead democratic and critical learning experience for students. This is so true, as progressive education is dependent on promoting freedom opposed to following the same neoliberal ideas that are placed upon traditional education systems. Shaw also discusses how traditional education is manifestively guilty of a grave deficiency by quoting psychologist Paget, which further shows the gap between traditional and progressive education. In Margaret Vicker's chapter titled Curriculum, Vicker views progressive education or curriculum as learning by doing rather than by listening. This is something that is often forgotten about in classrooms nowadays. Don't you agree? In classrooms today, work is often repetitive. Students go to class where they essentially do the same thing in every class with a different subject matter. It is prominently seen in science and maths classes. Students walk into class, listen to a PowerPoint that is being read word for word to them, and then they apply that knowledge. It can also be seen in English classrooms and humanities-based classrooms. It is evident that a progressive classroom situation occurs when the teacher themselves is aware of their students and what they are teaching and their enjoyment level, as teachers who do not enjoy it fall back into traditional education teachings. I think Dewey describes that best as he suggests that progressive schools cannot rely upon established traditions and institutional habits, unlike traditional schools that thrive upon those bases. Well, I think that's all I have time for today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you all feel more informed about the traditional and progressive education systems we experience in today's society. Unfortunately, my special guest could not be here, so he could not provide his own examples and experiences on education. Thank you. Goodbye. Kiss, kiss.